welcome to Off the Record. It's been a while. We had to take a break with the second wave hitting our country. But we are back now, and we thought what better way to come back with the Off the Record series than with a guest. So for the first time ever, we have a guest on this series. Sushant Divgikar is joining us. I don't think I need to introduce Sushant to any of you, but it's a pleasure, Sushant, for you joining us here.
Thank you so much, and I've always considered it my pleasure to be, with you, have a conversation with you all, and whether it was over the phone or whether it was through, the virtual medium. But now that I'm seeing you after so long, physically, I feel like wow, this is like another generation that we've just like gone through. And thank you for having me.
Okay, so Sushant has been really kind and agreed to come here. But why are we doing this? Now, it's Pride Month.
Yes.
And this month, there was a very interesting development, Sushant. I don't know if you managed to catch it, but a judge in the Madras High Court, while hearing a case, while giving his judgment protection to two women who sought protection from their parents, they wanted to live together, he said something which I don't think we've ever heard of a judge coming out openly and so candidly saying, I did not know enough about the gay community.
Yeah.
Yes.
This entire case has been an eye-opener for me.
Right.
I have been a product of conditioning where I have been taught that gay is bad or homosexual is bad, and I feel that this case and my ignorance is something that I have fixed during the course of this, this hearing and this case. And I think that was a very candid admission.
Yes.
Something that not many people can come out and say we don't know enough and we need to learn, because he actually went, he took part in some discussions, he tried to understand the community better, and that is something which I think is extremely it's the step in the right direction.
I believe so too. Yes.
One very interesting thing though before you say, he said was that he had never interacted with anybody from the LGBTQ community. Like he's not had a single, professional peer or a friend to know, and which I think is a something that most people in our country will connect with, even now in 2021, isn't it?
Also because I think that a lot of organizations don't have policies that safeguard their employees from discrimination based on gender or orientation, other than that of two genders.
Right.
So if I'm a non-binary person today, the last time I saw you 3 years back, I identified as a gay male.
Right.
But today I identify as non-binary. So, we'll get to what all of that
I
means.
was just going to say, I was like, Sushant, pause. We're going to get to that. Don't reveal everything just yet.
Yeah, so basically what I absolutely agree with both of your statements, and also I really appreciate the judge for making an effort to even show his vulnerable side and say that this is a conversation we've not had, because we have not imagined that LGBT people or anybody who falls outside the binary perspective or the heteronormative outlines that we have created for our people, I think that they are not important. They have not been important all this while, and therefore that's the notion people have had.
Right.
That there are only two genders. There's only, if you're gay, it's not normal. But I don't see any, even the section 377 has been repealed, but sensitization, and I think the people's mindsets have been so conditioned, as you said. Conditioning plays a very, social conditioning is
So sensitization comes from knowledge and information. So that's what we're going to try and do, give you some information. Sushant, if we ask something that's inappropriate or offensive, call us out on it. Because
I will.
Yes, please don't hold back. And we're going to try and get to some of the terms Sushant was talking about, non-binary, what that means. Let's just start off with the letters. Take us through each of them, because I think at some point everyone's wondering what are these alphabets, what do each of them mean. Let's start with L.
So basically, and the umbrella term used for the LGBTQIA plus community, some people call it queer. It's very tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Queer is because you're peculiar or different, and there's something peculiar about you. So it was very tongue-in-cheek. Today, a lot of people, when you call them queer, they might not take it very kindly.
Right. It's taken as a negative slang.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, why am I queer?
Right.
But there are also other people who are still tongue-in-cheek, and the humor is dark and very British humor. So I think that then that works. For me, I'll take you through LGBTQIA plus.
Yes.
We put a plus because there are so many permutations and combinations. We are also like, we are going to put a plus. You can identify as whatever you want to identify.
Right.
So we don't misgender you or, kind of call you out of your...
Or box you in a label. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
We don't box
So
you.
we're going to say it's the rainbow community.
Correct.
Let's call it the rainbow community. And by the way, because I have known, this is the first time we are interacting,
Yeah.
that I have met Tanvi in the past, we've interacted, we've had conversations even if we're not work related. So, she has been an ally. I have known that you are an ally for doing this today.
Yeah.
So, you must know that you all are also part of
We are the plus.
community. No, you're not the plus because you're the A. I'll get
we're
to
the
it.
A.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with L. L basically stands for lesbians.
Yeah.
Lesbians are lesbian is someone, a woman, a cisgendered woman. Cisgendered basically means the gender you are assigned at birth is the gender you're comfortable with. So
Right.
you're a cis woman.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a cis woman. I'm not a cisgendered person because the gender assigned to me at birth was male, but I don't identify strictly male anymore. So I'm not cis. So you both are cis.
Right.
The difference between you and the L
Right.
in the community is that you all are attracted to men. So
We're
that
not
gives you-
attracted to each other.
yeah, so that means that y'all are heterosexual women. So y'all are now cisgendered heterosexual women. So y'all don't fall in the L. The L is if y'all both had an attraction towards each other, or if y'all were in a partnership or a relationship, that would be lesbian.
Yeah.
Right? Two women who identify as women are in a relationship or attracted to each other. That is L, lesbian. G is what I believed for the longest time I had to live as a gay man is the G. So I was Mr. Gay World India.
Yes.
And today they're like, oh, but how are you Mr. Gay? I said, I'm not any longer Mr. Gay World India. I was when I identified as a gay man, right? And basically, gay is the male version of lesbian, like in terms of, so two men
Right.
Yeah.
identifying as men, attracted to each other. That's a gay partnership or a relationship or a.
Yeah.
It could be now. There are several levels of a gay lesbian, even a heterosexual relationship. It might not always be sexual.
Sure.
You all might be attracted to each other's aura, emotionally, spiritually.
Right.
Not always
Yeah.
sexual.
Right.
We are not. So that's another thing. By the way, I have to
Right.
tell both of you all that everybody thinks we are only about the sex.
Right.
We don't have aspirations. We don't have a job. We are only having sex.
Right.
So that's not the truth, I mean, I'm by degree I'm a psychologist. So why do people think that, oh, when I enter the room, do you introduce yourself as, hi, I'm Tanvi and I'm straight?
Right.
No, you don't. So why do I have to do that? Or why does everybody have to make everything about me, about my sexuality or gender? That's one thing. So now we've
So you're
got
an actor, you're a singer.
I'm human.
Right.
First,
Yeah.
I'm human.
Yeah.
I will not ask you, oh, yeah, Aarti, Tanvi, you know what? How many times did you have sex? It's very condescending to ask someone their gender orientation, just like without
Fair.
knowing them,
Fair.
So now we come to bisexual.
Right.
B is for bisexual. So we've done L, G, now B. Bisexual is somebody who is attracted to both genders. Okay, so you could be a cisgendered woman, but you are attracted to Aarti as well as Amit.
Right.
And Amit also should be, like a heterosexual man. He could be heterosexual, bisexual, whatever, homosexual also, but your attraction towards him and her makes you
Me
bisexual. Right?
Yeah.
Now coming to LG, is
See,
that
after the B, actually, I feel that there's, I feel slightly, I mean, obviously not too much, but there is more information about the L and the G and the B. Once we go past the B, I think is where the confusion or the
Right.
lack of information really stems.
right? And I don't blame the people that are not from the community. I have to tell you that even within the community, there's a lot of inverse discrimination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bisexual people, and there are so many intersectionalities, you see. There are people who are from the lower stratas of society that are not represented. For example, there are so many intersectionalities, like you could be of color, you could be of a certain religion, considered a lower caste, and nobody talks about that.
Right.
That's not even a reality. So it then suddenly starts looking, I mean, like the community also, the queer community, the rainbow community, starts looking at issues from a very elitist perspective.
Right.
Mm.
Or
Not-
even like you said, you were Mr. Gay World,
Yeah.
and now you don't identify yourself as that. There would have been some amount of backlash or
Of course,
or
of
negativity
course.
because of that.
Even when I was representing the country, there were some people who had a problem saying that, but you're too effeminate. I'm like, but now if you're asking for equality from the heterosexual majority,
But
Yeah.
within us, there's so
you're
much
saying she's too
discrimination.
trans, don't take her, don't
Yeah.
invite her, why is she entering, she's cross-dressing, he's too butch, this is not. I mean, if you're going to judge each other,
Correct.
it's not ever you're not going to have a unified voice. So I think when we are fighting the right fight, this is the good fight that we're not fighting unnecessarily, we're not rebels without a cause. So we want equality. Now when that happens, I have noticed, and as you said very correctly, bisexual people always are thrown under the bus.
Right.
They're like, how can you have everything?
Right.
But that's an orientation. They are born with it.
Yeah.
It's not like they switch on a button and say, today we're going to be bisexual, today we're going to be straight, today is Sunday, so we are now going to be transgender, and we're going to be attracted to everyone. That's crazy. It's very unsettling to see that this happens within
Yeah.
the community. So bisexuals
But
are
like you said, we're all humans. And I think those are basic human tendencies
Yeah.
to constantly judge, to constantly label,
Right.
box people into specific patterns.
for our convenience.
For our convenience.
Yeah, and I think that we need to stop doing that. And especially also within the community, I really request people that, stop doing it. It's not cute. It's not, entertaining. It's not, being that bitchy and, being a little like condescending. It's not. It's good for the movies. In fact, it's not even good for the movies, let me tell you that. But to see it, if it had to happen over here, I would take the closest thing next to me. I'd take a chappal on and hit somebody, I'm like that.
Right,
I'm like, please don't be disrespectful to anyone.
True. No, it doesn't matter, right?
It
Whatever your
doesn't
gender,
matter.
nationality, color,
Right.
sexuality, it really
And then
doesn't matter.
ironically, when you go and fight for equal rights,
Yeah.
then people are going to be like, but you were just like saying something very nasty about someone
Right.
from the community.
Right.
So I think that all of these things, one needs to take care of. And bisexual people, I have seen personally, are the ones thrown under the bus. They're like, "Arey, tumko sab chahiye." You all want to be attracted to men. That's their orientation. So bisexual people are basically people that are attracted to both male
Yeah.
and female. And that's a sexual orientation again.
Yeah.
Now we come to transgender. Transgender people are people who probably are born with, not probably, they're born with a particular gender at birth.
Okay.
So for example, I fall under the transgender spectrum, but I consider myself non-binary, and I don't mind being referred to as transgender because I don't adhere to the fact that I'm only male.
Okay.
Because you can clearly see that I celebrate my femininity as well as masculinity. I don't have to be boxed as male or female. So I consider myself non-binary. Non-binary is falls under the umbrella transgender spectrum. So transgender is anybody who doesn't identify with the gender
they were
Born
born
with. Okay.
Okay, so if whether it comes through expression or you want to completely go under sex reassignment surgery
Yeah.
Right.
and move over to the other gender. So for example, I haven't undergone surgery
Right.
yet, but tomorrow if I feel like, I would still be transgender only. Transgender people by default are non-binary because they don't adhere to the binaries of
Yeah.
gender, which is male and female. Anybody who wants to identify as anything other than the gender given to them assigned to them at birth are considered under the umbrella term of
Yeah.
transgender. Now that is gender. Even transgender people might have different orientations.
Sure.
So we have taken the transgender spectrum and the umbrella term into the rainbow community because where else will they go?
Right.
So my thing is that, and transgender people are so overtly vulnerable
Yeah.
to discrimination.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have so much blood on our hands, I honestly feel, because I see some of my transgender sisters who are not as lucky as I am. Their parents have thrown them out of the house. you think they like standing on the streets? And,
No,
it's
the
crazy.
tragedy is nobody will give them a job, right?
Because they're not educated.
Yeah, but it is
And
a
because they're not
cycle of
yes.
discrimination and a cycle that's just constantly perpetuated. You won't be accepted by society. Nobody's going to give you an education. Nobody's going to give you a job. What are you going to do? You're going to end up on the streets.
Yes.
And it's just that cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that all these judgments and labels and all of that has to stop, and that is where the allies come in, the A's come in. And now A doesn't only stand for asexual. Asexual people are basically, let me tell you, asexual people are, when sometimes we say we are sexual beings, we very loosely use, human beings are sexual beings and stuff. We completely disassociate the asexual community and are not giving them the importance that they deserve.
Right.
Because yes, as we all know, that there are always exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
And there are asexual people, meaning that there might be people that don't enjoy the act of sex.
Right.
Doesn't mean they will not be in a relationship with
Right.
a person. I could be in a romantic relationship with you without having any sexual contact
Right.
or any sexual, we might not have, we might not like procreate to make babies, or we might not have sex as recreational activity, but we might still be in a relationship which would be a romantic relationship,
Right.
or a spiritually aligned relationship, or companionship, partnership. You can call that so many things. So asexual people are people who basically don't have sexual desires, whether it's male, female, transgender, anything.
Okay.
Right? So that is the A. I missed Q.
Yes.
Q is basically queer.
Yeah.
Right? So queer is an umbrella term again, used for anybody with a different orientation, with a different gender. Now that could be gender queer, that could be gender fluid, that could be agender, bigender, bi-romantic asexuals. There's so many combinations.
You lost me.
Yeah. I need a dictionary. Wait, hold on.
That's why queer is
Okay.
basically you can identify as whatever you want.
Non-conformist. Or
Non-conforming, right?
Yeah.
So non-conforming.
Heteronormative, not heteronormative.
Non-heteronormative. Let's put it that. That's very.
So
she
let-
knows it.
I'm a fast learner.
Yes, she's a teacher.
So there are words, and now we're just putting them in context. Let's just say that.
Right, because all the time, you hear on the television screens, in the newspaper, LGBT, LGBTQIA+, LGBTQI. What is this?
What is-
So I'm so thankful you all are doing this.
Yeah.
It's like a lesson that people don't even have to pay for. It's so
Let me ask you this now.
Where
When
do
you
we
refer
start?
to it, we'll come back to this
Okay.
because
Yeah.
we are on
We missed time.
non-conformance or choices in that sense right now. And you said, when you enter a room, you don't want people to be asking you about your sexuality or your orientation. And that obviously is for everybody. None of us would want that. But when it comes to some within the community of LGBTQ, the heterosexuals don't know how to identify them.
Right.
So, and many would like that to be very precise.
Right.
Do I refer to you as a he
Yes.
or a she
Yes.
or an it?
Right.
Should I assume?
Right.
Should I upfront ask you when I meet you?
It's not it. It's they.
Right.
They, them.
Or they
They,
them,
them, yeah.
right? That's
Pronouns.
correct.
Yeah.
So, in our country, a majority would still say it.
Yes,
Right?
and that's wrong. And that's
So how do you figure it? Do we discuss it between ourselves?
No.
Is it okay to upfront ask?
Yes. So, if you don't want to be mean or rude or
Right.
condescending, or even by default try and affect me in a negative way, the best thing to do is to come and ask me, what are your preferred pronouns? May I know your preferred pronouns?
Yeah, I think that's a nice way. May I know your preferred pronouns? That's a nice.
Yes.
It's a non-offensive. I think it's also says I don't know. I'm asking you. Tell
Right.
me what
you tell me what you want me to
Yeah.
call you.
Yeah.
I don't mind calling you by my. I say call me by my name.
Right.
Best.
What are the pronouns that you like though?
Not
Not your name.
So my thing is that I am gender fluid to an extent where I am okay with he, she, and they, because I celebrate the fluidity And if you're confused, you can always come and ask me personally. I will not get offended because you're not meaning it in a condescending way.
You just
You're
don't know.
coming to actually not sound condescending. You're coming to me to understand. So then I can tell the difference. But if someone is saying, oh my god, look, you know, he's so gay and he's so this and he's so that,
Yeah.
that's wrong.
Right.
That is very mean. That's very rude.
Right.
Because if I had to read people for their fashion, you see, you know what I'm saying? So if we have to sit and judge, now I might be good at something, but I'm saying that you're not as good as me first. But that's okay. You have your own goods and bads, and we're not here. We're not sitting. We're not Simon Cowell. Okay. We're not judging, a show
Right.
where I can tell you you're pathetic, you're ridiculous, you're this, you're that. तुमने तो ये पहना है, तुम ये shade of lipstick, these nails. Who are we to decide? You wanted to wear this today. You felt gorgeous. You felt that that I'm gonna leave my hair open. Fantastic, do it.
Just like,
No, I love it. My
I'm
thing is
joking,
that.
I'm joking.
And why do you have to conform to somebody else's idea of how they should perceive you?
True.
You don't like it, look the other way.
Yeah.
आपको अगर पसंद नहीं है, you look the other way. Don't come in my space and tell me, because I'm as much a citizen of this country, I have as much rights as you do. And yes, times are changing, but how fast they're changing or how much they're changing, I have my questions
Not
and
fast enough.
reservations.
Yeah.
Not fast enough.
And I think that the best thing to do when you don't want to offend somebody is to ask them personally, not in front of, hey, what should I call you? Yeah, in front of like 20 people in the office. That's as embarrassing as you would make fun of them.
Right.
So you just go and say, hi Sushant, I just don't want to sound, I don't even want to come in your space, but I just want to make sure that whether I'm referring to your pronouns correctly.
Yeah.
What are your preferred pronouns? Finish, simple.
Yeah.
So you still go by the name of Sushant. You
I do.
also have a stage name, Rani.
Yes.
Rani who?
KoHEneur.
KoHEneur. So how do you, where do you prefer to be called what? How does that work?
See, Rani is my stage persona. It's just like when you play a character in a film or
Right.
on a television serial or anywhere.
Right.
Fortunately, your job is also the same name you use in your day-to-day life. So
Right.
you're not on, when you're on television, it's not that show where you have to play a character.
Right.
You're playing yourself, like you're being yourself. For us as artists, we have to play different roles.
Right.
I have created a stage persona
Right.
whose name is Rani KoHEneur. So when I'm on stage, when I'm on television, when you see me in a film, or that's when I can be called Rani if I'm in drag, right? When I'm completely,
When you are.
yeah.
Yes.
Another term we have to
Another
explore.
term we have to explore. Today we are exploring.
And learning.
And learning. And so when I'm like this, I'm fine being called Sushant.
Huh.
Because again, there are so many. I always say when people put India down, I'm like, do you know we are the most diverse nation in the world? We have everything from every religion, every caste, every gender thriving till the British came with their colonial mindsets. And they are the ones that pressurized us into dividing ourselves.
Absolutely.
So before that, tell me if I'm lying, but in our kings and queens palaces, we used to have the Tawaif culture where it was celebrated. Tawaifs were not looked down on, they were performers.
Right.
And even in the Tawaif culture, you had trans people, you also had men performing as women.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. And it's part of
That's drag.
our culture and
That's
history.
drag.
Yeah.
So आज जब drag का नाम सुन के ये लोग मतलब कतराते हैं, they feel so scared. They're like, this is not part of our culture. What culture are you talking about?
Yeah.
We have the most celebrated. I am very proud to be Indian. I don't like to go around saying tomorrow. Some people say that why you speak so much in Marathi, why you speak so much in Konkani, when you're speaking. I'm like, because that just shows how diverse we are. Even in one person knowing.
Correct.
All of us know more than 2 languages. I'll tell you, because in English, Hindi and our mother tongue.
Yeah.
Okay? And if we choose to learn some other international language. But by default, we are multilingual or at least bilingual.
Right.
Which many countries are not.
Yeah.
Because they're so stuck with So when people say India is not like this, I'm sorry, but India has also been one of the first countries to give transgender people the recognition on paper.
Yeah.
They have had passports. Now some people will say it's political agenda. And now everything you want to take out a negative, in my opinion, India has been and will always be a pioneer in many ways. We need to now start celebrating that.
Right.
So that Western countries, I'm not shading them, but there are a lot of countries that take, pride in saying we are the first to kind of put drag in the mainstream. But we have always celebrated drag via what we
Barring the
just
last
spoke.
200 years.
Yeah. And that's when we had started doing like a downward dog, when it came to equality, equity,
Right.
when it came to even performance. Now, अब लोग खत्म हो गए तो आप art को भी judge कर रहे हो. You're saying this is not for men, makeup is not for men. Every actor on screen wears makeup.
Right.
थोड़े मात्राओं में ही सही, he might not wear as much as the woman, but he's also concealing his dark circles, he's concealing his, zits and everything. Are you going to tell that person that he's not man enough because he's wearing makeup? Now, why are you adding gender to makeup? Everyone, makeup is for everyone. Clothes are for everyone. Garments, jewelry, everything is for everyone. We have decided that we are going to be the moral police. We are going to tell a girl not to wear trousers. We are going to tell a man not to wear makeup and jewelry because we are sitting on which university, boss? Which university have you graduated from that I am not aware of morality?
I think that's the thing, right? You get morality and judgment into every aspect of existence.
Especially in something that makes you uncomfortable because that shakes you. तो मतलब अगर मेरी sexuality से आपकी sexuality इतनी कतराती है, then your sexuality is weak, not mine. I'm very comfortable with mine.
Right.
And I'm not entering your space. And what is this whole thing that queer people and LGBT people are going to pounce on people and hit on them and be like, what are you doing and all that, and misbehave. This is ridiculous representation.
I was just going to say mainstream and pop culture has not done anything to help or to break the notion. If you see it's just
Help?
It's really sad, right? You will not see a nuanced performance, you will not see a fair representation. It is just so straitjacketed into somebody who is, like you said, this
obnoxiously loud, and I'm like, listen, trans people are doctors, trans people are lawyers, trans people are mothers.
Yeah.
Right.
Because motherhood is a behavior. The people that, the children, the small kids that are with their umbilical cord are thrown in the dustbin, trans women go pick them up and raise them as women. And they provide education by selling their body so that child doesn't have to go through what they went through. Now that's a mother. She might not have given her birth, but she reared her like a mother. So all of these things we need to understand that we are also human, We also have aspirations, we have family, friends, we have a job, we are productive members of society. Why are we promoting ghetto culture by throwing us on the street?
So let me ask you this before we go to and discuss that as well. Now in your experience, you've obviously come very far, you've learned some tricks of the trade, how to handle all kinds of challenges, but were there initially times where you were also told to act or be in a certain boxed manner? And no, don't act so normal. Who's going to identify is going to sit straight and talk in a straight way. You're not loud enough in your makeup or in your clothes.
Absolutely. In fact, I have done so much television that whenever I used to go for an interview or when I used to sit across the table with the content team or the creative team and the channel and the production house, they used to flat out ask me like, are you going to wear these clothes? Like, this is like so not gay.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean by not gay? If I wear a t-shirt, if I wear a kurta, I remember I had gone in like a t-shirt, a jacket and trousers for a meeting because it's an official meeting. What do you want me to come and wear? Feathers? Or you want me to wear like loofahs and all that on my shoulders and pants?
All the time, 24/7.
Yeah, I'll be Madam X all the time. Or what? I'm like, what's wrong with you? Today, let me just say that I have come from a shoot. But generally, if I had to come without, I was doing an editorial shoot. But if I had to come from home, I would come in a kurta or a t-shirt or a jacket and be comfortable
and
in what I'm
is there pressure also from within the community?
Yes!
That you're not taking a stand?
You're not,
By
so you are in
looking
the
like
middle.
that.
Yeah, you're going to be in the middle. I have been squashed between
discrimination
people.
from outside and within.
It has been very difficult. But I think now I have, through drag and through me coming out as non-binary, I really went ahead and told people I really can't be bothered with your opinion anymore because they're not paying my bills.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's not. And so you can have your opinion. Congratulations on your opinion. Fantastic. Now I need to leave.
Right.
It's that becomes that simple now for me. Earlier when I was younger, I used to cry myself to sleep. I used to imagine that I used to actually tell myself you don't deserve a good life. I used to tell myself that you don't deserve happiness because of all the the conflicts from extrinsically as well as intrinsically.
Because you couldn't figure.
I was like, maybe they're right. I don't deserve this.
And also, when you were younger, there was even lesser information compared to what there
Oh
is now.
yes, there
You know,
were.
at least, again, like I said, it's not enough, but at least there's a tad bit of information. But back then, there wasn't even that.
Yeah, we didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have mobile phones.
Right.
We didn't have any of that. We had like pen and paper. We used to write letters to each other. When we were in college and school. College, of course, we had phones. But like till we were in the 9th grade, we didn't have. No, till we were in college, we didn't have your WhatsApp and Facebook and nothing. So today, when people can connect, people can see so much more. People can see people like us through this medium. We didn't have all this. So you're right, because we didn't have good enough representation. It was misrepresentation.
Yeah.
That there was one character. It has haunted me for years. That music has I've had to go for therapy. That when that guy in that there was this one film. It was a Kajol and Salman Khan film. And there was this one character that was effeminate.
I remember I know what you're
talking. Yeah, that
Right.
song. Oh my
Okay,
god,
okay,
it was so
yeah.
disturbing. And people used to sing that when we used to walk.
Yeah, no,
Like
that's awful.
terrible.
Yeah.
Like that was the representation in mainstream media. So when I say that, even mainstream media has so much blood on their hands.
Right.
They never took the time out like y'all don't have to do this. But y'all are taking the time out to understand why it's necessary and important to do this. And I think that's brilliant. We need more people like y'all.
Yeah, and we have no ulterior motives of ourselves finding this information out. I'm not going to admit that we're as ignorant as many others would be around us, but it's a fact. It's
There is no bar on knowledge. I don't think at some point you can say, oh, I know everything.
No.
There's so much that
We are
don't
learning
know.
so much. That's why we put a plus. We don't want to offend anyone. We're going to put a plus.
Okay, so I'm circling back.
It means intersex. Now a lot of people, have you heard people say he's a eunuch?
Right.
There is people get very confused and their foot in mouth syndrome happens there is when they call transgender people eunuchs.
Right.
That's very terrible. That's like calling a gay person the F word, the fact that
Right.
and if you call a black person the N word.
Right.
It's that bad. So you cannot just be going around calling people what you think is right, and you can't say then that I didn't mean it.
Right.
That's what I've heard. No, you
Right.
can't. The same. I don't understand this about trolls and people who want to be insulting or then say that no, we didn't mean this. You're a click away from finding out what that means.
Right.
You're a Google search away from finding out what that definition of the word is.
Right.
So you're trying to tell me that you didn't have 30 seconds to just type that word in and search it. So intersex basically is people who are, now intersex people are intersex at birth.
Right.
Can be intersex at birth. It's not like they suddenly developed into becoming intersex. It's different from transgenders. Transgender people might identify differently after a certain point in their lives.
Right.
Intersex people can be intersex at birth. Okay. Now that might mean that they could have, developed genitals of both genders, or they might have the lack thereof. Okay. So now that if you call someone like that eunuch, now that's
offensive.
yeah, and then they'll be like, no, in our scriptures there have it has been said that eunuchs will be born, men will become eunuchs. There is a subjective interpretation to all of these things. You can't just be calling everybody a eunuch, or if you don't understand somebody, then you call them a chakka. You know that
that's another word that used to be so used so often and so casually just thrown around.
Yeah, like ye to chakka hai, ye good hai, you know, there are so many words that you can't use. And Hijra is not a bad word. Hijra is a sub-community of transgender.
I was going to actually ask you.
Now, Hijra falls under the transgender spectrum. All Hijras are transgenders, but all transgenders are not Hijras.
Okay.
Okay, Hijra is one of the oldest, very sacred community that actually is considered demigods.
Right.
Because they have, that is why they call the Hijra community to bless children. Okay, they call them to at weddings to give shagun and to give ashirwad and all, because they're considered. Now imagine that sort of a community, we have taken them from that pay when we say on the pedestal, we have snatched that from them and thrown them on the streets.
So Hijra is an acceptable term.
Acceptable term for Hijras.
For Hijras.
Yeah. Not for all transgender.
So now, how would they be different from other transgenders?
So transgender people, now for example, I fall under the transgender spectrum.
The spectrum.
Okay,
correct.
but I'm not a Hijra.
Right.
A Hijra person is a person who claims that Hijra is basically an institution. Okay, it is a guru-shishya relationship that you share with, and it is very beautiful if you meet a person.
So it's essentially that one community we've had for centuries
it's
together.
The
It's
in the world.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's a very sacred community. It's a very sacred sub-community, and Hijra people are people who belong to the Hijra community are. All of them identify as transgender because obviously they don't identify as male or as female.
Right.
Now, if I'm a trans person, doesn't mean I'm a Hijra, means that if I did not accept the gender I
Any
was
of the
given at
other.
birth, okay, and I feel that I want to become a woman now.
Right.
Then I'm a transgender person, I'm not a Hijra. Hijra is like if you're a guru in the Hijra community, I'm your shishya. And she's my chela, she's my shishya. So you become her, she becomes a poti chela. Like it's very beautiful.
Right.
It's like, and they take care of each other like mother-daughter.
Right.
It's very beautiful. So when you use Hijra as a derogatory term also, that's also wrong.
Yeah, obviously that would be for any of these terms.
Yeah.
That if you intentionally use it in a derogatory way, that's separate.
Yes.
But otherwise, also it's not okay to use the N word or the F word or the E word.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this then. When it comes to Hijras, do they have specific sexual preferences and tendencies?
Yes. So the thing is that most Hijras are have been men at a point in their life, right? They might have even been they might have identified even as gay men because they didn't know that they were trans for a very long time. I didn't know for 29 years. I fall on the trans spectrum. Being educated, being in the media industry for 15 years, I didn't know I fell in that spectrum.
Right.
But today you see that, we are celebrating Demi Lovato coming out as non-binary.
Right.
We're celebrating this one and that one. Over here, we're not talking about people like from the transgender community like Gauri, Gauri Sawant, Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi. There are so many that we have. We don't want to celebrate them on a world platform, but we want to celebrate those up.
Right.
So I'm just like, then why can't you celebrate your people?
Yeah.
And this is the question to the masses.
Right.
They're like, no, but Demi Lovato is such a fantastic singer. But I'm like, have you asked Lakshmi
You
that
haven't
she's
given them an opportunity to do
Yeah,
that is the
right.
problem. You haven't
Funny,
given, you find
yeah,
perhaps the most
too
talented
funny.
people in the transgender community, but you never gave them a chance.
Just last year we had, not last year, 2020, we had a transgender person getting the Padma Shri award.
Yeah.
How many people know this? So, that was not because she's Hijra or she's transgender. She's an artist first.
She is a capable person.
Yes, and so those are the things that we need to kind of.
So Shukla, let me get this right. There's one part, so it's through this entire spectrum. There's one which is your gender or your identification or non-identification, and the other is your sexuality or your sexual orientation. And I think it is both these things are very different.
Yes.
And basis what it is, you can identify as any of LGBTQI.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes. So you can be a woman and identify as a cisgendered woman, but you could have a different orientation from a heterosexual woman. So, for example, let's just for perspective's sake, say that you both are cisgendered heterosexual women. If I'm a cisgendered woman, but my orientation is that I like women, then I'm a cisgendered lesbian woman or a homosexual woman.
Right.
It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have so many things in common. The first thing is that we have the same blood running in our veins.
Right.
Okay, we breathe the same air. I don't drink gay coffee. I don't drink non-binary tea. You know, it's so crazy. So
Don't give marketing people ideas.
they get it from me. They get it from me. So then now they have to be very careful, and they have to be very, very, very. It has to be very thought out.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm just like. So before this, I was not booking a cab. Suddenly, you've changed your marketing and rainbows and all everywhere.
Right.
Don't try to pink wash me. I was still booking my cabs through your app. Before this, after this, even tomorrow I'll book it. But don't do this.
Right.
You know, or washing machine suddenly. Huh? What? Like, what am I? I'm like, am I diving or what in the washing machine? It's still washing clothes. How is a washing machine going to be a gay washing machine? Like, it's crazy. It's so funny. It's just.
But I think, what was good was this conversation, and we need to do a lot more of this. For the longest time, and not just in our country, globally that's been the trend, people have not bothered to understand or find out. There's been a generic apprehension
Yes.
That's one end of the spectrum, and it obviously goes to the other end of hate as well. And the only way we can change is by asking questions and knowing.
Yes.
I also feel that sometimes there is now fear of even asking questions for getting it wrong.
Yeah.
This is something that we need to break through. Thank you so
Please,
much for
please,
joining
please, yes,
and taking
please.
our questions.
And please ask more questions whenever you all feel
We'll
like.
do this more often because I
Please do
think,
it.
if there is a lesson to learn, if not from anybody else, but our judiciary and the example that they've set is however old you are, whatever your social conditioning may be, however you've been raised, there is no bar on knowledge, there is no bar on breaking the shield of ignorance and misinformation and learning and accepting and loving everybody.
Absolutely, and for I just have to stand up and applaud the Madras High Court judge
Absolutely.
and the two of
Absolutely.
you for being such wonderful allies, and I'm trying to understand, and please ask questions. Honestly, please do it. You will not offend us. It's as long as we're getting these sort of conversations out. And drag, we will do another
We
episode.
will.
Other episode.
That's
so
the
that I
promise
can
from
come back.
Sushant. Another episode on Off the Record with Aarti and I. Thank you for joining us.